Sagittarius, when God is silent, it doesn't mean He's left you. It's the moment He's watching to see if your heart still has enough faith to keep walking, even when the light seems to vanish from the sky. Because only when you walk through the dark does your soul truly realize how bright the fire inside you burns. Today, I want to tell you a sacred story, a journey where every challenge isn't meant to punish you, but to prepare you for the greatest gift God has already written into your astrological map. If you feel tired, lonely, or lost, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand that every loss is only a layer of ash, covering the divine jewel waiting to awaken within you. If you can feel this energy, write it down. I am ready to receive the miracle God has prepared for me. Because when you write it, you're sending a signal to the universe that Sagittarius is ready to be chosen. And now, let's step into the first chapter together, the moment when the light fades, so the trial can begin to illuminate your soul. Have you ever felt like every prayer you whispered just disappeared into nothingness? No sign, no answer, only silence, stretching on so long that you began to doubt your own faith. Sagittarius, if you're in that place right now, know this: God hasn't left you. He's simply being silent to measure how deep the light in your heart truly runs. For Sagittarius, a soul born under Jupiter, planet of faith, wisdom, and grace, belief is everything. But when Jupiter goes retrograde or passes through the 12th house, the house of mystery, isolation, and spiritual trials, you may feel cut off from the world. No one understands you. No one hears you. Even God seems silent. Yet it's in that silence that your soul is tested for gold. Because light isn't always something that shines outside of you. Sometimes it's hidden, so you can find yourself within the dark. I've always believed that God never takes your light away. He only changes its position. When everything around you fades, it's not because the light is gone, it's because it has moved inside you. That's when you begin to see with your heart, not just your eyes. I've watched many Sagittarians collapse during these cycles. When Jupiter steps away from your comfort zone, you can lose faith, lose direction, even lose your sense of meaning. But do you know something? In that very confusion, God is rewriting your destiny map. If today you feel lonely, if you're asking, why is God silent when I need Him most? Perhaps He's testing whether you can still stand without seeing the path. In astrology, the 12th house is known as the house of endings and the gate to enlightenment. It's where every soul must face itself, stripped of titles, roles, and masks, until only truth remains. And for Sagittarius, this is the hardest lesson. Because you are the traveler of light, forever seeking meaning in every journey. But how do you find meaning when even the light seems gone? I've been there. I know what it feels like to beg for a sign and receive only heavy silence in return. But Sagittarius, it's in that silence that you're being taught to listen with your soul, not your ears. Some challenges aren't meant to break you. They're meant to brighten you. God isn't hiding His face from you. He's teaching you to know the difference between real faith and shallow hope. True faith doesn't need proof. It only needs a heart that knows. Even when the night is darkest, the sun will rise again. And for Sagittarius, that is your essence, the light that never dies. Think of Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and blessing. When it retrogrades, everything feels smaller, as if the universe is shutting its doors on you. But in truth, this is purification. A door closes, not to punish you, but to teach you to slow down, to observe, to listen, and to rediscover what truly matters. I often say, when Jupiter moves through the 12th house, God takes you into the inner room where he no longer speaks, but is still very present. And there, Sagittarius, your soul learns to believe even when there's no light to see. If your heart aches as you hear this, let me tell you this truth. You are not lost. You are in the holiest part of your journey. The trial isn't here to destroy you. It's here to purify you, to prepare you for a destiny greater than you can imagine. Because every prayer, even the unanswered ones, is still being heard and being arranged in divine order. If you believe that, write it down. I trust the plan God has for Sagittarius. Because when you affirm this, you reconnect with the frequency of grace, where every blessing begins to unfold. Maybe you're in a hard Jupiter cycle. You've lost a job, a love, or even your faith in yourself. But Sagittarius, you haven't truly lost anything. You're just being stripped of what no longer belongs to your soul. And when you understand that, God's silence won't scare you anymore. It will become a sacred pause, where he rearranges everything in divine timing. Let me share something personal, a truth I've learned after years of watching Jupiter's cycles. Every soul deeply loved by God must walk through the desert before entering the garden. And for Sagittarius, that walk isn't just a test, it's an invitation. An invitation to return to yourself, to real faith, to real light, to real love. You were born a fire sign, a flame that never goes out. And God knows that. He knows that even a spark of hope within you can light the whole sky. So if today you've fallen, remember, you're not weak, you're being forged to become as strong as the very light God placed in you. I know these words might sound easy when you're hurting, when you've cried through the night, when your prayers seem to vanish without an echo. But ask yourself this: is God truly not answering, or is he speaking in a language you haven't yet learned? Because sometimes silence is his loudest voice. It forces you to stop, to look within, and to ask, am I believing in God, or only in the outcome I want to see? That question hurts, but it's a sacred grace. There is no shortcut to faith. God doesn't want you to believe out of fear or desperation for a miracle. He wants you to believe because you've realized that not believing is what truly makes you lost. A Sagittarius who's grown in spirit no longer asks, when will the miracle come? They say, I am ready to become the miracle. And the moment you reach that place, every door begins to open. Here's a truth to hold close. What brings you to your knees today may be what helps you stand tall for the rest of your life. Sagittarius, you weren't born for ease. You were born to inspire faith. God placed in you the spirit of a pioneer, one who dares to believe, even when the whole world stops believing. So remember, when Jupiter passes through the 12th house, you're not being punished. You're being purified. Old dreams dissolve to make room for a greater vision. People leave to clear space for those meant to stay. And through it all, God is preparing you for a new beginning, a divine assignment only you can fulfill. If your heart feels a little warmer after hearing this, write down, I am ready to hold my Sagittarius faith strong. Because the moment you declare it, the universe begins to move. Believe me, one day you'll look back and realize every time God was silent, he was preparing something extraordinary. And you'll smile, because you'll finally understand he was never silent to abandon you. He was silent to see if you could still believe when there was nothing left to see. If you've ever lived through that silence, where every prayer went unanswered, share your story in the comments. Because your story might be the light that guides another lost Sagittarius home. And now that we understand the meaning of silence, let's move to the next chapter, where God begins to forge your fire. Because only in the night's deepest test does the Sagittarius flame burn its brightest. There are nights when you look up at the sky and whisper, "Why, God? Why did you choose me for this path?" It's not because you did something wrong. It's because your soul is too radiant, and light that pure must be forged in fire. Sagittarius, you are the child of Jupiter, planet of expansion, faith, and illumination. But right now, Saturn, the strictest teacher in the universe, is visiting your fourth house, the realm of roots, emotions, ancestral memory, and your inner foundation. This isn't an easy season. It's the moment when God places his hand over your heart and asks, "My child, do you truly know what enduring love means?" When Saturn moves through the fourth house, the deepest lessons don't come from the outside world. They rise from within your own home, your emotional home. It may show up as family patterns, childhood memories, that old feeling of being abandoned, the fear of love, or the fear of being hurt again. They're all coming back now. Not to punish you, but to heal what was once unseen. I always tell my students this: Saturn doesn't come to destroy, he comes to build. But before he builds, he must first tear down what's rotten. And so, in the stillness of the long night, you begin to hear a soft cracking sound in your chest. But don't be afraid. It isn't your heart breaking, it's the old shell splitting open, so that new light can enter. I know, Sagittarius is the sign of light, freedom, and faith. You don't like being trapped in darkness. You don't enjoy lessons that drag on too long or move too slowly. But Saturn is teaching you something sacred. There is no lasting expansion without a strong foundation. And that foundation is your emotional truth. You can soar high, you can inspire the world, but if there are corners within you that remain unhealed, God will always call you back to finish what's unfinished. Sometimes you'll feel yourself being pulled into old memories. Wounds you thought were long gone start bleeding again. That's Saturn in the fourth house, a deep emotional apprenticeship of faith. God isn't testing you through big, dramatic storms. He's testing you in small, quiet moments, when you choose forgiveness instead of anger, silence instead of proving a point, and faith, even when there's no reason left to believe. I once knew a Sagittarius who went through this exact cycle. She was strong, independent, full of light. But when Saturn touched her fourth house, she lost everything. Her job, her relationships, even her sense of safety in her own home. Through tears, she asked me, "Why would God take everything away from me?" And I told her, He didn't take anything away. He's teaching you to see what truly belongs to you. And a year later, she became a guide for thousands, helping others move through the same pain with the gentleness and compassion she had learned in that wilderness. That flame inside her, the one she thought had died, was only being refined to burn brighter. Sagittarius, sometimes God chooses you, not because you're ready, but because He knows you won't give up. He knows you'll cry, you'll break, you'll wander, but eventually you'll rise. And when you do, your light will guide others home. God often tests those who carry great missions, and He chose Sagittarius because only those with free hearts can spread the light. Let me share something personal. When Saturn crossed my own fourth house years ago, I lost someone very dear to me. I thought I would never find peace again. But in those nights of quiet prayer, I learned something profound. God didn't want me to be stronger. He wanted me to be softer. When you dare to slow down, to feel, to let yourself be vulnerable, that's when you finally hear His voice. Gentle, yet true. And maybe Sagittarius, you're in that same phase now. Not to collapse, but to be reshaped by love itself. Don't fear the loneliness, because sometimes solitude is the private classroom God designed just for you. When there's no one left to lean on, you finally realize He's the one holding you up from within. You're not weak, Sagittarius. You're simply learning how to believe, even when the wound still bleeds. Let the tears fall, but don't let your faith fall, because every tear that drops tonight is washing the road for tomorrow's miracle. In astrology, Saturn is the teacher of responsibility, discipline, and emotional maturity. When it visits your fourth house, it doesn't just teach you about family, it teaches you about the true home of your soul. Not the place you live, but the place where you feel peace. Maybe you've spent your whole life searching for peace outside, in other people, in success, in love. But now God is whispering, real peace isn't in what you have, it's in how you see. If your heart feels moved as you listen to this, write down, I'm learning to love and believe like a true Sagittarius. Because every word you write is a declaration to the universe that you are ready to graduate this sacred lesson with gratitude, not bitterness. One of Saturn's most beautiful lessons is this: control doesn't create safety, only trust does. When you learn to let go, your life doesn't fall apart, it finally becomes real. When you learn to accept, pain stops being an enemy, it becomes a teacher. And when you learn to trust, every loss turns into a bridge back to grace. Remember, Sagittarius is the sign of the journey. You weren't born to stay safe. You were born to travel, to grow, to learn, through every wind, every fall, every scar. Saturn doesn't come to extinguish your fire. He comes to teach you how to walk through darkness without losing your light. I believe that one day, not too far from now, you'll look back on this time and smile. Because you'll see that nothing happened to hurt you. Everything happened to refine you. And when that day comes, your light will no longer be a flicker. It will be a torch, guiding lost souls through the night. If you're tired right now, stop for a moment, close your eyes, and whisper, I accept your lesson. I trust that everything unfolding is born from love. When you say that, Saturn ceases to be the harsh taskmaster and becomes a kind teacher, gently walking you through the night toward dawn. God doesn't teach you how not to feel pain. He teaches you how to love without fearing it. And that is when the fire within you stops burning from fear and begins burning from faith. If something inside your heart stirred while listening, leave a comment that says, the Sagittarius flame within me still burns. Because sometimes, those words alone carry the spark that lights hope for someone else listening tonight. And now, as your inner fire grows stronger, come with me into the next chapter, where God begins to open the doors of blessing. Because when the test ends, grace begins, and Sagittarius will see that every pain you've endured was only the shell of a miracle waiting to be revealed. There comes a quiet, sacred morning on every soul's journey, when you wake up and realize your heart no longer feels as heavy as before. The old pain is still there, but instead of screaming, it smiles softly, as if you finally understood why God let everything unfold the way it did. Sagittarius, if you're feeling that peace now, know that destiny is beginning to open its doors for you. After months of spiritual testing, Jupiter, your ruling planet of grace and blessing, is leaving the dark halls of the 12th house and stepping into the 10th, the house of recognition, purpose, and divine mission. If the 12th was where you learned to believe without seeing the light, then the 10th is where God gives that light back to you, so you can carry it into the world. In astrology, when Jupiter enters the 10th house, it marks the time when the gates of destiny begin to swing wide open. What was once delayed now moves forward. Dreams that were buried come alive again, and those who doubted you will witness the grace of God shining through your very life. God works through the rhythm of the cosmos. When Jupiter, the planet of grace, rises to the house of purpose, he is saying, "Now, my child, you are ready to receive." Not a small gift, but the mission your soul signed up for before it ever came to Earth. Sagittarius, you've been through so much. You've lost faith, lost direction, even lost pieces of yourself in the storm. But now the universe is aligning to bring you back into your light, brighter, humbler, and more purposeful than ever before. Let me tell you this. Jupiter doesn't only bring luck, it brings meaning. When it enters the 10th house, God doesn't just want you to be seen. He wants to make you a vessel of inspiration for others. I've seen many souls in this transit. Some were standing on the edge of despair. Some had lost everything: love, reputation, security. But in that emptiness, they found themselves again, the brightest, most humble, and strongest versions of who they were meant to be. Because God doesn't want your success to prove anything. He wants your maturity to deserve what He's about to give. I remember reading for a Sagittarius woman once, right before Jupiter entered her 10th house. She said, "I don't dream of much anymore. I just want peace." I smiled and told her, and it's exactly when you stop demanding that God starts giving. 3 months later, she received an unexpected job offer, one that allowed her to help and heal hundreds of others. She said to me, "Now I understand, this isn't a reward, it's a calling." Exactly. When destiny opens, the true reward isn't fame or wealth. It's the chance to live in alignment with what your soul was born to do. You see, Sagittarius, every cosmic cycle has its purpose. If Saturn is the stern teacher, then Jupiter is the benevolent father. And now, as these two energies weave through your chart, God is preparing you for a sacred leap. You might feel it in your dreams, in the sudden coincidences that make no sense but feel right, in a song that plays just when you were ready to give up. All of them, signs from God. And when you see these signs, don't doubt them. They are not coincidences. They are confirmations that you are on the right path. You may receive an invitation, an opportunity, or meet someone new who changes everything. Or perhaps it's simply a feeling, a quiet calm you've never known before. That's when Jupiter whispers to you, "You've learned enough. Now, live." Let me share something I hold close to my heart. A truth I've seen again and again. I've seen people who lost everything, only to find themselves their brightest selves. And the miracle is, when they found themselves, love, success, abundance came back on its own. But this time, they no longer lost themselves in the process. That is the power of grace. When you stop chasing blessings, the blessings begin to chase you. Let me ask you something, heart to heart. Have you ever noticed that true blessings only come after you've become willing to lose everything? If your answer is yes, write it down below. I am ready to receive the divine blessing meant for Sagittarius. Because that act, that declaration, is how you open the door of destiny with your own heart. Look around you, you'll start seeing little signs God is sending. A butterfly crossing your window, a call from an old friend just when you were about to give up, a lyric that hits your soul at the perfect moment. All of them whisper the same message: you are not alone. I am here. As Jupiter climbs into your 10th house, your light begins to shine naturally. You no longer have to prove yourself, because God Himself will use your story to prove His light. All those efforts you made in silence will be rewarded. Every prayer you thought went unheard is now ripening into grace. But remember, God doesn't bless the ego, He blesses the soul. Keep your heart soft, keep your faith pure, and let your light spread quietly through humility. There's a beautiful truth that Jupiter in the 10th house always reveals. Real glory doesn't come from being praised by others, it comes from living honestly in your purpose. You may be recognized, you may be loved, but never forget, those are just vessels. The true miracle is that you walk through the dark and now you shine, not to be seen, but to help others find their way. As Sagittarius steps into this new cycle, many doors will open at once. Don't fear the change. The universe never takes away. It rearranges to bring you exactly where you belong. If someone leaves, bless them. If something ends, trust that it's just the doorway to a new beginning. Faith isn't seeing to believe, it's believing and then seeing. And now, Sagittarius, you are in the season of seeing. After the long wait, God is illuminating your path, not to glorify you, but to honor the strength you showed when He was silent. If you're listening to this right now, take a deep breath and feel that warmth spreading in your chest. That's Jupiter's light, the return of faith, not the trembling faith of fear, but the mature faith that was forged in darkness and now glows with dawn. God doesn't crown the souls who've never fallen. He crowns those who fell and rose again with a humble heart. Sagittarius, you now stand at the threshold of a new destiny. The doors are open, and the whisper of heaven says, "My child, now you are ready to receive." If you can feel this truth in your heart, affirm it aloud. I am ready to receive the divine blessing God has prepared for Sagittarius. Because that's more than a sentence. It's a sacred ritual, a moment when your soul officially steps into its new light. And now that the gates of destiny have opened, come with me into the next chapter, where we'll speak of the greatest gift God has prepared for you. Not a material one, but the rebirth of your heart. Because when grace arrives, the Sagittarian soul is not only blessed, it is called to become a blessing for the entire world. There comes a quiet moment in every soul's journey when you finally realize that every true miracle begins within, not from the things you pray for, but from the way you see the world after you've walked through loss. Sagittarius, the gift God prepared for you isn't held in your hands, it lives in your heart. It's not about what you receive, but how you perceive everything after the storm. Because when the heart is healed, destiny shifts. In astrology, we call this the 9th house, the house of faith, wisdom, higher vision, and the spiritual path. It is Sagittarius's sacred home. It's where you ask, "Why am I here?" And where you learn to smile, even at the questions that have no answer. The 9th house isn't about knowledge, it's about understanding born of the soul. It doesn't ask you to know everything, it only asks you to believe. I've noticed that the most awakened Sagittarians are those who once lost everything and still chose to believe. They no longer try to prove their faith, they become that faith. When Jupiter, your planet of grace, returns to the 9th house, your soul opens once more. But this time it's quiet. No longer craving, no longer chasing, only gratitude. A deep, sacred thankfulness for all that has been, even the pain that once broke you. God never promised you would not feel pain. He only promised you would not be alone in it. And do you know, Sagittarius, every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, He smiles. Because in that moment, you are unlocking the door to a miracle. If you're hurting today, remember this: the very instant you choose to forgive, the miracle begins. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. When Jupiter settles into the 9th house, the light of faith starts to return. You begin to see life differently. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You start to see that every fear, failure, heartbreak, separation was only God's way of teaching you how to love yourself. Let me share a small story. Years ago, I met a Sagittarius woman in the midst of crisis. She'd lost her job, her love, and her sense of purpose. In her chart, Jupiter had just entered the 9th house, a time of awakening, but also of dismantling everything false. I asked her, "If everything you once believed in fell apart, what would you do?" She paused for a long moment and said, "I'd start over. But this time, I'd believe with my heart." A year later, she returned, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. She told me, "I lost everything, but I found myself, and I realized what God took was never truly mine. What He left behind can never be taken away." That is the greatest gift of the 9th house. Faith. Not blind faith, but mature faith. Faith forged through wounds, born of tears, and now shining as light. Sagittarius, you are the child of belief. You know that life isn't always easy, but it's always meaningful when you see it through the eyes of your soul. You've endured, you've cried, you've lost, but now you are being reborn, not as someone who must always be strong, but as someone who understands that true strength lives in peace. Take a deep breath and feel the warmth in your chest. That's the light of faith awakening inside you. It's not loud, it's not dazzling, it's gentle, like God placing His hand over your heart, whispering, "You don't need to understand everything, just believe." The deepest lesson of the 9th house is this: when your heart heals, your destiny changes. Because the world doesn't transform through outer miracles, it transforms when you begin to see with love. Maybe others won't change, but when you look at them with compassion, when you see your pain through gratitude, everything becomes lighter and more beautiful. I once heard a wise teacher say, "When you no longer need a miracle, miracles begin to happen," and I believe that. Because a miracle isn't when life becomes perfect, it's when your heart chooses peace, even when life isn't. Sagittarius, maybe God didn't give you what you wanted, but He gave you what you needed to grow. Look back on your journey. Every tear had meaning. Every loss carried purpose. Everything that once hurt you now helps you love deeper, see clearer, and believe stronger. God doesn't give you an easy life. He gives you a heart that believes, even when life gets hard. If you're still listening, place your hand over your heart and whisper, "Thank you for helping me believe." Because as long as you hold on to faith, you hold on to everything. And now, write these words in the comments. I am ready to receive the divine gift God has prepared for Sagittarius. That sentence is not just words, it's your soul's declaration. It's how the universe knows. Your heart is open. Not every treasure shines like gold. Some treasures take the shape of faith, the only thing that can never be stolen. Sagittarius, you've come so far. Now is the time to pause, to breathe, and to realize that your path has never been meaningless. Every tear was rain watering your faith. Every crack was a place where the light could enter. And every loss was a step toward the dawn. When the 9th house opens, your soul begins to see what your eyes once couldn't. You stop asking God why and softly whisper, "I understand. Thank you for trusting me enough to teach me this." And when those words echo in your heart, everything around you begins to change. Not because the world has, but because your light has. When the heart is grateful, the ordinary becomes miraculous. That is the greatest gift God gives to Sagittarius: unshakable faith. Faith that keeps you steady in storms, gentle in pain, and willing to love, even when the world forgets how. If your heart feels touched by these words, share your story in the comments, because your light may be the key that reignites faith in another wandering Sagittarius. And don't forget to write, "I am ready to receive the divine gift God has prepared for Sagittarius." Because when you do, the universe will know your heart is open. And now, with your gift unwrapped and your heart awakened, come with me into the next chapter, where the chosen Sagittarius begins to shine as the torch of faith. The next part will reveal how God uses your light to touch the world, and why you are the miracle He created for others. Maybe you don't realize it yet, Sagittarius, but in this very moment, as you listen to these words, the light has already returned to you. Not the blinding light of achievement, but the gentle glow of a soul that has walked through the night and still kept its faith. That light doesn't come from the outside. It rises from within, from a heart that finally understands that everything God allows has a reason. In astrology, when Saturn leaves your fourth house, the realm of roots, shadows, and emotional testing, and Jupiter climbs toward your midheaven, it's the sign that the Sagittarian flame is rising again after a long spiritual winter. After all those trials, you now step into a season of inner illumination, where your soul no longer fights to prove itself, but to guide others. Like a candle that has survived the storm, your flame no longer fears the wind. It has learned how to dance with it. When Sagittarius is chosen, they don't just receive blessings. They become the blessing. And that, my dear, is the difference between being saved and being chosen. The saved one finds peace. The chosen one carries that peace into the world. Sagittarius is fire, but not a fire that burns. It's a fire that lights the way. After passing through Saturn, the planet of limits, and Jupiter in retrograde, the hidden grace, you have become steady, wise, and luminous. It's a light no longer dependent on circumstance, but anchored in inner peace. Like your bow, Sagittarius, the more it's pulled back, the farther the arrow flies. God pulled you backward, not to hurt you, but so the arrow of your soul could reach the stars. In this new phase, your energy shifts completely. You're no longer obsessed with what must I achieve. Instead, you begin to ask, what light can I bring to others? And in that question, God whispers, now you are ready to be used. I've met many Sagittarians in this chapter of awakening, souls once broken, now healing others. Those who once feared, now inspire. Those who once wandered, now guide. Each of them carries the same essence, the soft radiance of the chosen ones. They are not perfect. They still have tender days, still shed quiet tears. But it is their honesty that reaches people's hearts. Because the chosen Sagittarius isn't called to speak about faith. They are called to live it. Not to preach light, but to become it. You don't need a stage to be heard. When you speak with truth, even in small moments, you are already carrying the vibration of God to those who need it. You are the arrow of light in God's hand, and He is aiming you exactly where you belong. You may not know where that is yet, but don't be afraid. The arrow doesn't need to know the target. It only needs to trust the hand that pulls the bow. And that hand is God's. When the light returns, you start to see the world differently. No more good or bad, gain or loss, only meaning. You stop blaming life Stop resenting others. Stop judging yourself. You begin to smile even at what's unfinished because now you know everything he does is born of love. That's when the Sagittarian soul enters spiritual maturity. You stop chasing the light and become it. Let me tell you something personal. For a long time, I believed that when light returned, life would become easier. I was wrong. The return of light doesn't change your circumstances, it changes how you see them. When the light lives within you, you see meaning even in pain and grace even in loss. And that, Sagittarius, is when you become the teacher the world needs. Not a preacher, but a living example of faith, compassion, and courage. You become a mirror for other wandering souls. Proof that darkness isn't frightening when you know how to keep your light alive. In astrology, fire signs like Sagittarius carry the sacred duty of spreading belief. And after surviving what you've endured, your fire is no longer a spark that burns fast. It's a torch that endures, warm enough to rekindle hope in hearts gone cold. Your words carry new weight now. Your actions hold deeper meaning, because you no longer speak from intellect. You speak from a heart that has been broken and healed by divine light. The true value of a chosen Sagittarius isn't measured by status or success, but by the faith you restore in others. A single word, a gentle act, a quiet presence can be the saving light for someone standing at the edge of despair. You become the torchbearer, the one the world looks at and thinks, if they could rise again, maybe I can too. That's when you realize your mission was never to chase happiness, but to be a bridge between humanity and hope. You no longer ask God, when will you bless me? Because now you are the blessing. If something warm stirs in your chest right now, know this, that light doesn't come from these words. It comes from your own Sagittarian soul, awakening. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, I am ready to become the light. That is the vow of the chosen. Not to live an easy life, but a meaningful one. Not to receive, but to give. Sagittarius, God did not call you to escape the world. He called you to bring light into it. And when you step forward with tenderness, when your words come from truth, when you live through empathy, the universe will rearrange itself to place you exactly where your light can shine. You don't need to go far. Right where you stand, with everything you've learned, is enough for your flame to be passed on. You are the arrow of light in God's hand, and He is aiming you exactly where you belong. And when you are released, don't fear the wind, don't fear the distance, for the hand that drew the bow still watches over you, every second, every breath. If you feel the light returning to your heart tonight, write in the comments, I am ready to become the light of Sagittarius. Because when you write it, you are sending a signal to heaven that you understand. You understand why He chose you and why every trial was sacred. And now that the light has returned, we will move into the final chapter, the journey of connection, closure, and radiance. The next part will be the farewell of grace, where Sagittarius learns how to keep the flame alive and become a living blessing to the world. And now, Sagittarius, our journey for today gently comes to a close. A journey that's taken you from darkness, through the storm, back to yourself. And finally, to the quiet realization that the greatest gift God ever gave you was never something outside of you, but the faith, the love, and the gratitude blooming within your own heart. You've walked through the tempests, you've cried, fallen, and felt utterly alone. But look at you now. You're still here, and the light inside you never went out. That is the holiest miracle of all. Not a wonder that arrives from the outside, but the rebirth of faith from within. The moment your heart chooses to believe, even when the world still doesn't make sense. If this message has touched your heart, leave a like, share it with someone who needs a little light, and write in the comments below, "I am ready to receive my divine miracle." Because that's not just a sentence, it's a soul ritual, a resonance with the frequency of grace. When you write it, you're sending a signal to the universe, letting it know you're ready for the next chapter of your divine path. And remember, the light you carry isn't just meant to guide you. It's meant to guide those still wandering in the night. Keep it, nurture it, let it shine. Because you, Sagittarius, you are the arrow of light in the hand of God, and He is aiming you exactly where you belong. In the next video, we'll talk about the one who has been quietly sent into your life, not to test you, but to walk beside you in the fulfillment of your destiny. A kindred soul, a sacred thread pulling you toward the light. And perhaps, when you watch that next message, you'll finally recognize the person God has chosen to walk with you in this next chapter of life. I'll see you there, in the next circle of light, because the Sagittarian journey never ends with the miracle. It always continues, through love, through faith, and through light.